Guys, we're back. This is going to be very interesting. I think you're going to find this next guest very interesting. I'm glad to have him on the show. David Haynes is the managing attorney of the Washington, D.C. office of the Cochran Firm. He devotes his practice to complex civil litigation, high-stakes mass torts, wrongful death, product liability, catastrophic injury cases. He has secured more than $100 million in recoveries for his clients and has led lead counsel through verdict and settlement to. And so we're going to be talking with Mr. Haynes. David Haynes, welcome to Money for Lunch.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
All right, so let's talk about this. You know, specifically, we have all these testosterone gels and creams and other products to help, quote, men reverse the drop of testosterone. What's been the problem?
Well, what we've discovered and what has come out from the FDA is that these testosterone products, particularly the gel products, which are being pushed all over the media, as you said, in high-price advertising campaigns, there's a very real concern here on the gel products that the dosage that's being absorbed by certain people's body is inconsistent, and so sometimes too much testosterone is being absorbed, and this is causing stroke, heart attack, and even death.
Wow. So now,
yeah.
David, let me ask you this, see if you know this, because I know that you work with these product liability cases and stuff. The FDA requires these gels to go through some kind of testing, and how is this stuff missed? Because it seems like they would have caught this, or did they just not test it long enough, or what happened when something like this goes so bad?
Yeah, the FDA has a very full plate. I mean, they only have so many resources of what they can test, and they're going off the information that's provided. And often the studies are basically manufactured and supported by the actual drug manufacturer to support their studies. So they're often very slanted. And what happens is when if a product gets out on the market, it becomes popular, and we're seeing some adverse events in the community, then sometimes we have independent studies that are actually done. And that's what happened. There's been some various studies, one in the New England Journal of Medicine, which came out, which showed that there is several times a higher risk of stroke, heart attack, or other serious heart problems for men who are on these, particularly the gels, the testosterone gels. So then the FDA becomes aware of that, and then they will take an action. They've issued a warning earlier this year announcing that the agency is investigating these serious risks of stroke and heart attack, as I mentioned. And so therefore, now that these products are still on the market, but FDA is continuing to investigate that, and they could end up pulling a product like this. But FDA, just because it's FDA approved, that doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be safe for everyone.
Right. And you know what? I'm glad how you pointed that out. It's a government agency. They are probably, like a lot of government agencies, over capacity. They can't cover everything. They try to do their best they can. And things happen, and I think that these drug manufacturers, for the most part, try to do the best they can, and we know that sometimes drug manufacturers will cut corners. Not saying that this is the case, but again, sometimes they are motivated by money, and sometimes they're motivated by trying to do a good job, and things just happen. Let me ask you this: what can consumers do who have suffered a heart attack or stroke or being or any kind of these side effects on replacement therapy do? What can we do as consumers?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you're on one of these products, you certainly should consult with your physician, and particularly if you have a history of heart problems, because the studies that have come out show that if you've had a prior history of any sort of a heart problem or a heart attack, that your risk is greatly increased if you're on one of these medications and the gels. If you or a loved one has suffered a heart attack or stroke, our law firm would be happy to evaluate your case. We have a free and confidential evaluation process. You can visit us on CochranFirmDC.com or contact us at 202-682-5800, and we'll evaluate the case for you and investigate it, including getting the medical records, so that you or your loved one can get an answer as to whether or not you may have been the victim. A lot of the folks don't know. They've lost a loved one, or their husband's had a stroke, and they just put it together later when they read some of the news. Well, yeah, he was taking Androgel, and maybe that's related to the situation we're in now.
Well, okay, so let's talk about this then. Okay, let's say that somebody has suffered a heart attack or a stroke or some other side effect. Why contact a lawyer or go to CochranFirmDC.com, what are you guys going to do for the consumer?
Right. Well, what we're going to do is the reason is because you want to get answers. Really, you want to try to find out if this was a factor in your illness. And what we'll do, first thing we'll do is we're going to request all your medical records, all of the records from the physician that was prescribing the drug, as well as the records from your admission at the hospital where you had a stroke. And we're going to evaluate all those records along with the science which is being continuing to be developed in this area, and also, if it's appropriate, have an independent expert that is going to review all of your records and make a determination as to whether he or she believes that it's more likely than not that you actually suffered a stroke or heart attack as a result of testosterone, or if your risk were greatly increased. So you'll have an opportunity to have basically a free evaluation of your entire medical case by a very credentialed, highly recognized physician. And then you have the option to bring forward a lawsuit, potentially to seek money damages for a result of the injury.
Now, when you say bring forth a lawsuit, is a lawsuit always the way to go? Because I know people hate filing lawsuits. They, when you think of filing a lawsuit, you think, man, this is going to take years to happen. Now, do all cases go to lawsuit, or are some of them settled?
Well, and often in these cases that involve these bad drugs, what happens is there often is a global settlement, which is sometimes is rolled out in stages, but a lot of these claims do not go to court. There are certain cases which are called bellwether cases. It's only a handful usually around the country that will proceed, and then in many of these cases there have been settlements that have been offered. It does take a while due to the scope of these cases and the severity of the various, we have thousands and thousands of individuals around the country that have suffered from taking testosterone gel, primarily Androgel and Axirom are two of the most popular products. So it will require some patience, but it does not require any upfront monies on behalf of the client or the family, and you'll be getting a lot of answers and to the situation, and as I say, a free evaluation, and there very well could be significant monetary compensation that could be available without actually having to go to court.
Right. And the number one thing here for consumers is that somebody at your firm or whatever law firm they ended up go with is, if they go with a law firm that specializes in this kind of stuff, like the Cochran Firm, DC.com, you have somebody who is going to tell them what to expect, kind of walk them through the procedure. Hey, this is all normal. Kind of hold their hand through something like this, because something like this can have a massive impact in somebody's life. It's one thing to suffer a heart attack. It's another thing to die from it. Obviously, those are different extremes. And you need somebody who knows what they're doing. This is not something you want to let, you want to just turn over to any attorney or maybe a buddy of yours who's an attorney. You really want to get somebody who's an expert in these kind of complicated civil matters, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. This is not something that a general practitioner can handle. We have many lawyers who refer their clients to us. This is a very specialized area. There are a number of law firms around the country that are doing this. It's not just our law firm, but you need to be sure that the firm has a lot of experience in this mass tort product liability arena, and that they're actively working on this testosterone product. If they don't have a number of other cases, that's a good indication that they may not be properly equipped to handle these cases, and we will absolutely explain the process, sort of hold your hand, as you say, throughout the process, get all your medical records, and report back to you each step of the way so that you can get some answers. We have a lot of widows who are calling us, tragically, that want to know, am I without my life partner now because of this Axirom that was in the medicine cabinet? And it's a very disturbing situation, but we need answers, and we need to try to prevent others from suffering from these sorts of illnesses and risk, if indeed we can prevent that.
Absolutely. David Haynes, thank you so much for stopping by. Guys, if you think you may have some questions, and you have some concerns, or maybe you've suffered some of these heart attacks or stroke or anything, check out David and his firm at CochranFirmDC.com. David Haynes, thank you so much. I would like to bring you back and maybe give us an update in a couple of months as things progress.
We'd love to. Thank you, Bert. Anytime.